Anna Maria Franziska of Saxe-Lauenburg was the legal Duchess of Saxe-Lauenburg in the eyes of the Holy Roman Emperor, the overlord of Saxe-Lauenburg, from 1689 until 1728. However, because her distant cousin George William, Duke of Brunswick-Lüneburg, conquered the duchy by force in 1689, she exercised no control over the territory, instead living in her manors in Bohemia. She was Grand Duchess of Tuscany as the wife of the last Medici, her Duke, Gian Gastone.Anna Maria Franziska was the elder surviving daughter of Julius Franz, Duke of Saxe-Lauenburg, and Maria Hedwig of the Palatinate-Sulzbach. She married Philipp Wilhelm August of the Palatinate in 1690, with whom she had her only child, Maria Anna, in 1691. She was widowed in 1693. 4 years later, she married Gian Gastone de' Medici, a prince of Tuscany. With her brother-in-law Ferdinando de' Medici's death in 1713, her husband became Tuscany's heir apparent. She became her Duchess of Tuscany upon the incumbent ruler's death in 1723. She was Grand Duchess for 14 years before being widowed again in 1737. Biography. Early life. Anna Maria Franziska was born on 13 June 1673. She was the second child of the reigning Duke of Saxe-Lauenburg and Maria Hedwig of Sulzbach, who died when Anna Maria was 9 years old. With the death of her father Duke Julius Franz on 30 September 1689, the Lauenburg line of the House of Ascania was extinct in the male line. However, female succession was possible by the Saxe-Lauenburgian laws, so the legal female heir to the throne, Duchess Anna Maria Franziska, and her sister Sibylle of Saxe-Lauenburg fought for the succession of the former, the elder of them. Also Julius Francis's cousin Eleanor Charlotte of Saxe-Lauenburg Franz-Argen claimed the succession. The weakness was abused by Duke George William of the neighboring Brunswick-Lüneburgian Principality of Lunenburg-Selle, who invaded Saxe-Lauenburg with his troops, thus inhibiting Anna Maria's ascension as Duchess Regnant. Also other monarchies claimed the succession, evoking a conflict further involving the neighboring duchies of Mecklenburg-Schwerin and of Danish Holstein, as well as the 5 Ascanian-ruled principalities of Anhalt, the Electorate of Saxony, which had succeeded the Saxe-Wittenbergian Ascanians in 1422, Sweden and Brandenburg. The conflict was finally settled on 9 October 1693, definitely ousting the dispossessed Anna Maria and her sister. Both sisters never gave up the claim. Emperor Leopold I rejected Selle's succession and thus retained the Saxe-Lauenburgian exclave of Hadeland, which was out of Selle's reach, in his custody. Only in 1728 his son Emperor Charles VI infoffed George II of Great Britain with Saxe-Lauenburg, finally legitimizing the de facto takeover by his grandfather in 1689 and 1693. In 1731 George II also gained Hadeland from imperial custody. First marriage. Anna Maria married Philipp Wilhelm August of the Palatinate-Neuburg. The wedding took place in Bohemia at the castle of Radnitz on 29 October 1690. He was the 8th son of Philip William, Elector Palatine. They had 2 children together. One survived to adulthood, Countess Palatine Leopoldine Eleanor Elizabeth August of Neuburg. Countess Marie Anne Caroline Louise Franziska of Neuburg married on 5 February 1719 to Duke Ferdinand Maria Innocens of Bavaria. He was the 6th son of Maximilian II Emanuel, Elector of Bavaria and an imperial field marshal, with whom she had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Duke Maximilian Joseph Franz of Bavaria, Duke Clemens Franz de Paula of Bavaria, married 17 January 1742 to Countess Palatine Maria-Anna of Sulzbach, daughter of Joseph Charles, Count Palatine of Sulzbach and Elizabeth Augusta of the Palatinate. The couple had 2 sons and 2 daughters, who all died very young. Duchess Maria of Bavaria, a son. Duchess Maria-Anna of Bavaria, a son. Duchess Theresa Manuel of Bavaria. Philipp Wilhelm died on 5 April 1693. Second marriage. Cosimo III de' Medici coaxed his son into marrying Anna Maria Franziska for dynastic purposes. She was very wealthy, and brought a possible claim to the Duchy of Saxe-Lauenburg through her father. The Medici family needed an heir. Gian Gastone's brother, Ferdinando, had not produced a child. They were married on 2 July 1697 by the Bishop of Osnabrück at Düsseldorf, but they lived in the Kingdom of Bohemia, at Chateau of Ploskowicz and Zakupy. The new Princess of Tuscany had sprawling estates in the region. At the time of the marriage, contemporaries described the princess as appalling and immensely fat. Anna Maria Franziska dominated her weak husband, which drove him into the arms of alcohol. He deplored her behavior, capriciousness, peevish faces and sharp words. Gian Gastone stayed with his wife for a mere 10 months, before fleeing to Prague. The princess refused to leave Reichstadt, despite her husband's constant protestations. She believed that the Medici were in the habit of murdering the consorts. The Grand Duke attempted to force his daughter-in-law to move back to Tuscany with Gian Gastone. He asked the Pope Clement XI to send the Archbishop of Prague to reproach her and convince her to fulfill her wifely obligations. She replied that there was no point because Gian Gastone was absolutely impotent. He left without her in 1708. Ferdinando, the heir to the collapsing Grand Duchy, died in 1713. Therefore, she became the Grand Princess of Tuscany. Later life. Gian Gastone became her Duke of Tuscany in 1723, and she, the Grand Duchess. Her husband continued to live in Florence, Tuscany's capital, and never saw his wife again. Gian Gastone lived a frivolous life there, staying up all night and waking up in the afternoon. As Grand Duchess, Anna Maria Franziska kept to her life of solitude at her castle, where she talked to the horses in the stables. Gian Gastone died in 1737. As the Medici had no male heir, Francis Stephen of Lorraine ascended the Grand Ducal throne. She died in 1741. Ancestry.